You're in a conversation. You say something, and the other person just nods, looks away, checks their phone. You keep talking, but you can feel it. They're not really listening. They're just waiting for you to finish. And you wonder, why doesn't anyone ever lean in when I speak? Here's what nobody tells you. Attraction isn't about being louder. It isn't about being smarter. It isn't about having the perfect thing to say. The most magnetic people in the room aren't the ones who talk the most. They're the ones who know which words actually matter. And most people never learn this. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." But it goes deeper than that. It's not just about listening, it's about knowing what to say when you do speak. Today, I'm going to show you 7 simple words that will change how people respond to you. Not manipulation, not tricks. Just honest, powerful phrases rooted in Stoic wisdom. Word number 5 is the one most people are too proud to say, and it's the most magnetic of all. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to say to make people feel drawn to you authentically. If that's what you're looking for, subscribe and let's begin. Word number 1. I was wrong. Let me ask you something. What's the hardest thing for most people to say? It's not "I love you." It's not "I need help." It's 3 simple words that almost everyone avoids, like their life depends on it. I was wrong. Think about the last time you made a mistake. What did you do? If you're like most people, you defended yourself, made excuses, blamed circumstances, blamed other people. Anything to avoid admitting that you specifically, got it wrong. And here's the thing, everyone around you noticed. They always do. We think admitting mistakes makes us look weak. We think people will lose respect. We think if we just explain ourselves well enough, no one will see the flaw. But the opposite is true. In a world where everyone defends their ego, admitting you were wrong makes you rare. It makes you trustworthy. It makes people want to be around you. Why? Because people don't trust those who are always right. They trust those who are honest enough to admit when they're not. I knew a guy named Thomas. Smart guy, successful career, ran a team of 15 people, but he had one problem. He could never admit a mistake. When projects failed, it was always someone else's fault. When decisions backfired, he had 100 explanations ready. His team respected his intelligence, but they didn't trust him, and they definitely didn't feel connected to him. Then one day, a major project collapsed. Everyone braced themselves for the usual blame game, but Thomas did something different. He stood up in front of his team and said, "This was my call. I was wrong, and I'm sorry." The room went silent. No one expected that. And then something shifted. His team didn't see weakness. They saw courage. They saw someone finally being real. Within months, that same team became the most loyal group in the entire company. Not because Thomas became perfect, but because he became honest. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If anyone can show me that what I think or do is not right, I will gladly change, for I seek the truth." The Stoics understood something most of us forget. Clinging to being right is a prison. It traps you in your ego. It pushes people away. But admitting you're wrong? That's freedom. That's strength. That's what draws people in. So here's what I want you to try. The next time you make a mistake, small or big, don't defend it. Don't explain it away. Don't wait 3 days until the tension fades. Just say it, right then. I was wrong. Watch what happens. Watch how the other person's walls come down. Watch how the energy shifts. Watch how trust begins to build in a way it never did before. 3 words, that's all it takes. But admitting mistakes is just the beginning. There's another phrase that builds something even deeper, real connection. And that's word number 2. Word number 2, tell me more. Think about the last conversation you had, a real one, not small talk, an actual conversation where someone was telling you something that mattered to them. Now be honest. Were you really listening? Or were you just waiting for your turn to speak? Most conversations are exactly that. Two people taking turns talking at each other. You share something. The other person half listens while preparing their response. Then they share something, and you do the same thing back. Everyone talks. No one feels heard. And here's the painful truth. You've probably been on both sides of this. You've been the one not listening, and you've been the one who walked away from a conversation feeling completely invisible. That's why this next phrase is so powerful. 3 words. Tell me more. When you say tell me more, you're doing something rare. You're not jumping in with your opinion. You're not redirecting the conversation to yourself. You're not offering advice no one asked for. You're simply saying, I'm here, I'm listening, and what you're saying matters. That's the rarest gift you can give another human being. Because most people are starving to be heard. Not fixed, not advised, not interrupted, just heard. I knew a woman named Lisa. She worked in sales. Wasn't the most charismatic person in the room. Didn't have the smoothest pitch. But somehow she consistently outperformed everyone on her team, by a lot. Her secret? She barely talked about the product. When she met clients, she asked questions. Simple questions about their business, their challenges, their goals. And when they answered, she didn't jump to solutions. She didn't pitch. She just leaned in and said, "Tell me more about that." Clients would open up in ways they never did with other salespeople. They shared real problems, real fears, things they'd kept to themselves. By the end of the conversation, they didn't feel sold to. They felt understood. And that's why they bought. Not because of the product, because of her. Epictetus taught that we should listen more than we speak. Not as a clever tactic, but as a discipline. A practice of genuine curiosity. Tell me more isn't a manipulation trick. It's an act of presence, and presence is magnetic. So here's what I want you to try. In your next conversation, tonight, tomorrow, whenever, resist the urge to respond immediately. When someone shares something, pause, look them in the eyes and say, "Tell me more." Then actually listen. Don't plan your reply. Don't think about what you'll say next. Just receive. You'll be amazed at what happens. People will open up to you in ways they never have before, not because you're clever, but because you made them feel seen. If you've ever felt what it's like to be truly heard by someone, or you're still waiting for that moment, drop "I hear you" in the comments to remind someone here that their voice matters. But listening is just one piece. Sometimes people don't just need to be heard, they need to feel understood. And that's word number 3. Word number 3, that makes sense. Think about the last time you opened up to someone. Maybe you were frustrated, maybe you were scared, maybe you just needed to vent about something that had been eating at you for days. And what did they do? They gave you advice. They told you what you should do. They explained why you shouldn't feel that way. Or worse, they told you to look on the bright side. How did that feel? Probably not great. Probably like they weren't really hearing you at all. Here's what most people don't understand. When someone shares a struggle, they're not asking you to fix it. They're not looking for solutions. At least not yet. What they really want, what they desperately need, is to feel like their experience makes sense. That's why this next phrase is so powerful. 3 words, that makes sense. When you say that makes sense, you're not agreeing with everything they said. You're not saying they're right and everyone else is wrong. You're simply acknowledging their reality. You're telling them what you're feeling is valid. Your perspective matters. You're not crazy. And that changes everything. Because here's the truth. Most people don't feel overwhelmed by their problems. They feel overwhelmed because no one validates that the problems are real. They start doubting themselves, wondering if they're overreacting, feeling alone in something that actually makes perfect sense. I learned this the hard way. A friend of mine named Robert was going through a divorce. Brutal situation. He'd call me sometimes just to talk, and every time I tried to help. I gave advice, offered solutions, pointed out silver linings. I thought I was being a good friend, but he kept pulling away. Our conversations got shorter. He stopped calling as much. I couldn't understand why. I was trying so hard to help. Then one day, I tried something different. He started venting again, and instead of jumping in with fixes, I just said, "That makes sense. I'd probably feel the same way." He stopped mid-sentence, looked at me, and for the first time in months he actually opened up. Not surface-level stuff, the real pain underneath. Nothing changed about his situation, but everything changed about how he felt. Because finally, someone told him his feelings were valid. Seneca wrote, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." When you validate someone, you don't feed their fear. You help them feel less alone in it. And that's often all they need to start finding their own way through. So here's what I want you to try. The next time someone shares a struggle with you, pause. Before you offer advice, before you try to fix it, just say, "That makes sense." Let them feel heard before you try to help. You might be surprised how much that alone can heal. Validation builds trust. But there's a phrase that goes even deeper. It makes people feel truly valued. And that's word number 4. Word number 4. What do you think? Here's a question most people almost never ask. Not because it's complicated, not because it's awkward, but because their ego won't let them. 4 words. What do you think? Sounds simple, right? But think about it. How often do you actually ask someone for their opinion and genuinely want to hear it? Most of us don't. We share our thoughts, we give our takes, we explain our reasoning. And if we do ask what someone thinks, it's usually just politeness. We've already made up our minds. But here's what happens when you sincerely ask someone, "What do you think?" You're not just being polite. You're saying your mind matters, your perspective is valuable, you're worth consulting. And in a world where everyone wants to feel important, that's one of the most powerful gifts you can give. People are drawn to those who make them feel significant, not flattered, not manipulated, genuinely valued. I knew a guy named David who ran a growing company, smart, decisive, always had the answers. When problems came up, he solved them. When decisions needed to be made, he made them. Fast, confident, no hesitation. But his team was completely disengaged. Meetings were silent. No one offered ideas. People just showed up, nodded, and waited to be told what to do. David couldn't figure out why. He was doing everything right, leading from the front, taking charge, being the boss everyone expects. Then a mentor gave him one piece of advice: stop having all the answers. In the next meeting, David did something different. He presented a problem, but instead of solving it, he paused and asked, "What do you think we should do?" Silence. Awkward silence. No one was used to being asked. Then one person spoke up, then another. Then ideas started flowing that David had never considered. People who'd been invisible for months suddenly had something to say. Within weeks, the entire energy of the company shifted, not because David became less of a leader, but because he made space for others to lead too. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in history, surrounded himself with advisors, and he actually listened to them. He understood something most leaders forget. Wisdom isn't about having all the answers, it's about learning from everyone around you. What do you think? Isn't weakness. It's the quiet confidence to value other people's minds. So here's what I want you to try. This week, in at least one conversation, hold back your opinion. Don't jump in with what you think first. Instead, ask, "What do you think?" Then actually listen. Not to respond, not to correct, just to understand. You'll notice something shift. People will open up. They'll engage more. They'll feel like they matter, and they'll remember you as someone who actually cared what they had to say. If these words are changing how you see connection, hit like and subscribe. There's more to come. Asking for opinions shows respect. But there's one phrase that takes even more courage, because it requires dropping your armor completely. That's word number 5, and it's the one most people are too proud to say. Word number 5, I don't know. This is the one I mentioned at the beginning, the phrase most people are too proud to say, the one that separates truly confident people from those just pretending to be. 3 words, I don't know. Now, your first reaction might be, that's it? That's the most powerful phrase? Saying you don't know something? Yes, and here's why. Think about what happens in most conversations when someone doesn't know the answer. They fake it. They make something up. They speak with confidence about things they're completely uncertain about, because admitting you don't know feels like weakness. It feels like losing. But here's the paradox. Saying I don't know doesn't make you look stupid. It makes you look honest. And in a world full of people pretending to have all the answers, honesty is magnetic. People can sense when you're faking certainty. They might not call you out, but somewhere inside they lose a little trust. They feel the gap between what you're saying and what you actually know. But when you admit uncertainty, when you say I don't know without shame, they lean in, because finally someone is being real. A woman named Sarah worked as a consultant, high-stakes meetings, expensive clients, pressure to always have the answer. One day, a client asked a technical question she didn't know how to answer. Her instinct was to fake it, piece together something that sounded smart, speak with enough confidence that no one would question her. But she paused, took a breath, and said, I don't know, but I'll find out and get back to you by tomorrow. The room didn't turn cold. No one lost respect. In fact, the opposite happened. The client nodded, appreciated it, because Sarah showed something rare, integrity over ego. She got that account, not despite admitting what she didn't know, but because of it. Socrates, whose wisdom deeply influenced the Stoics, built his entire philosophy on this idea. He said, I know that I know nothing. He wasn't being humble for the sake of it. He understood that pretending to know everything is the enemy of growth. Real wisdom starts with acknowledging what you don't understand. The Stoics carried this forward. They didn't value the person with all the answers. They valued the person honest enough to seek the truth, even when that meant saying, I don't know. So here's what I want you to try. The next time someone asks you something you're unsure about, resist the urge to fake it. Don't fill the silence with empty words. Just say, I don't know. Then add, but I can find out. Watch what happens. People won't think less of you. They'll trust you more, because you just proved that when you do speak, you mean it. Honesty builds trust, but there's a phrase that builds something even deeper, genuine care, and that's word number 6. Word number 6, how can I help? Most people walk through life asking one question. They don't say it out loud, but it's running in the background of every conversation, every meeting, every interaction. The question is, what can I get from this? What can this person do for me? How does this benefit me? What's in it for me? And here's the problem. People can feel it. They might not be able to name it, but they sense when someone is talking to them with an agenda, when the friendliness has a price tag, when the connection is really just a transaction, and it pushes them away. The most magnetic people in the world ask a different question. 4 words. How can I help? When you say, how can I help, you flip the entire dynamic. You stop being someone who wants something and become someone who gives, and that changes everything. Because here's what most people don't realize. Givers attract. Not because people want to use them, but because generosity is rare. It's refreshing. It stands out in a world full of people trying to get something from each other. I knew a young guy named Kevin who was trying to build his network. He did everything the books told him to do. Went to events, collected business cards, sent follow-up emails, tried to connect with important people, but nothing stuck. Conversations were awkward. People were polite but distant. His network stayed small no matter how hard he tried. Then he changed one thing. Instead of asking, "What can this person do for me?" he started asking, "How can I help this person?" He stopped pitching himself, started looking for ways to give. He introduced people to each other, shared resources without being asked, offered help with no expectation of anything in return. Within a year, his network exploded. Not because he chased connections, but because he created value. People wanted him around. They remembered him. They referred others to him. He didn't get more by asking for more. He got more by giving more. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What injures the hive injures the bee." The Stoics understood that we're all connected. Helping others isn't selfless sacrifice. It's recognizing that when you lift someone else, you lift yourself too. Service isn't weakness. It's the highest form of strength. So here's what I want you to try. In your next conversation, look for one way you can help without being asked. It doesn't have to be big. An introduction, a resource, a simple offer of support. Then say it, "How can I help?" Don't attach strings, don't expect anything back, just give. You'll notice something shift. People will open up to you differently. They'll trust you faster. They'll want to be around you more, not because you're useful, but because you're generous. Service creates attraction, but there's one final word that seals everything together. The simplest phrase of all, yet the one most people say without ever meaning it. That's word number 7. Word number 7, thank you. You've heard this word a million times. You say it every day, at the coffee shop, at the grocery store, when someone holds the door, when someone passes the salt. But here's the question. When was the last time you actually meant it? 2 words, the simplest of all, thank you. We say it constantly, out of habit, out of politeness, out of routine. It rolls off our tongues without a second thought. But when you say thank you and actually mean it, when you pause, look someone in the eyes and express genuine gratitude, something shifts. The other person feels it, and they never forget it. Think about your own life. Think about the people who thanked you in a way that actually landed. Not the quick throwaway thanks. The real ones. The ones where you felt seen, where you felt like what you did actually mattered. Those moments stay with you, don't they? That's the power of genuine gratitude. It doesn't just acknowledge what someone did, it acknowledges who they are. I heard a story about a man named George. He was in his 80s, lived a simple life. Nothing extraordinary by most standards. But George had one practice he never missed. Every week, he wrote handwritten thank you notes. Not for big things, for small things. A waiter who refilled his coffee with a smile, a neighbor who picked up his mail, a stranger who held the door when his hands were full. People thought it was old-fashioned, maybe even a little strange. Who writes thank you notes anymore? But here's what happened. George had more genuine friendships in his 80s than most people have their entire lives. People loved being around him. They remembered him. They felt valued by him. When George passed away, the church overflowed at his funeral, not with family, with people whose lives he'd touched. Waiters, neighbors, old colleagues, strangers who'd received one small note years ago and never forgot it. All because he said thank you like he meant it. Seneca wrote, "Nothing is more honorable than a grateful heart." The Stoics didn't see gratitude as just good manners. They saw it as a discipline, a practice that transforms how you see the world and how the world sees you. Gratitude isn't about the other person. It's about who you become when you practice it. So here's what I want you to try. Today, not tomorrow, today, find one person to thank. Not with a quick text, not with a passing comment. Look them in the eyes. Tell them specifically what you're grateful for. Mean every single word. Do this once a day for 1 week. Watch how your relationships transform. Watch how people respond to you differently. Watch how you start to feel differently too. Thank you isn't just a phrase. It's a way of moving through the world, and when it's real, it's magnetic. 7 phrases, simple words. But when spoken with intention, they become the most powerful tools you have. If this video shifted something in you, subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear it. The Stoics didn't teach us to attract people through tricks. They taught us to become someone worth being around, honest, present, humble, and grateful. You don't need to perform. You just need to be real. And real is magnetic.